11.5 yards of a gorgeous tartan print cotton. Like what? Who knew that Nova Scotia was where actual yardage went to die in thrift stores? I certainly didn't. To many people, IKEA curtains far more valuable than worsted wool yardage. For $15, a gorgeous, fun green singer to add to my collection. No questions asked. Hands down, I was absolutely going to buy it. Hello friends, and welcome or welcome back. I'm Shannon Makes, and usually on this channel, I am making fun, creative projects with recycled materials, and this video is going to be a little bit different because it is going to be a sort of haul video, but it is going to be a haul of all of the thrifted items that I found while I was recently in Nova Scotia. Because who knew that Nova Scotia was where actual yardage went to die in thrift stores? I certainly didn't. So without further ado, let's jump right into it because I found so many amazing fun things, from actual yardage to cool fabric in the bed linens section to notions to, let's say, machinery. Very exciting things. Let's hop right in. So I figured I might as well start with all of the fabrics because there are so many of them, and a lot of them are really fun and high quality. And I think the crown jewel is this one right here. This is some amazing gray worsted wool flannel. I calculated the yardage and I've got just under 4.5 yards, and would you believe it, it only cost $6. That's right. Now there is a theme we will see as this goes on, and that is that the pricing scheme here is 100% not consistent. So 4.5 yards of actual 100% wool at $6, and then we're gonna see that there's a fraction of a yard of tapestry fabric that's probably polyester that costs the same amount. So the prices are just more for our entertainment, but 100% not standardized across the board. So this one, you know I had to snag it. You know I love me a good wool. The weight and the drape, very nice on this. Also, I always love when the selvage edge is still intact and when it has information about the fiber content, all that fun stuff. This definitely one of the best finds while I was there. Next up on the list here, we've got a couple very fun tartan prints going on. They're basically the same pattern, but in different scales, and I suspect in different fibers. So the very large version here of what I think is called the maple leaf tartan, because yes, all of the provinces here in Canada have their own tartan, except for Quebec. Go figure. This, I do believe, is the generic maple leaf tartan, and this is a much larger version of the print, and I suspect there's probably some polyester in here, which is just fine. If I'm so motivated, maybe I'll give you guys a burn test at the end of this. And this one, I did look at the yardage. I've got about 2 3/4 yards of this, and then this same tartan, but in a much smaller format over here. This does feel like it's probably 100% cotton, and I have 11.25 yards of it. I kid you not, 11.25. And how much did that cost? I guarantee you, not very much. $3.99. That's right, I got 11 yards of fabric for $3.99. I feel like I should probably break down the cost per yard for you on that one because, oh boy, absolute killer deal. So fun. And I feel like there's gonna be so many fun ways to mix and match the same print, but the larger and the smaller version. I have absolutely no idea what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe an actual historical costume? What is this? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's gonna be a ways down the road because my to-do list is about this long right now. But if you have ideas, fun bits of inspiration, or things I could make with this same print but in 2 different scales, be sure to let me know down in the comments because I'm very excited about this yardage, but I have no idea what I'm gonna make out of it. Then next up, we've got some pre-quilted fabric. Now this is just under a yard. It's about 3/4 yard and it cost $4. Now I absolutely hate the print on the outside, but I don't mind the solid color on the inside. And I thought that this could make kind of a fun lining for a winter vest. Not like an outdoor wear, more like an indoor wear vest, but just something to keep you a little bit toastier when it's -40 out Celsius. I'll put the freedom units here for everyone else. So very fun, $4 for just under a yard of some pre-quilted lining fabric. Also, yes, it probably is polyester, but I am constantly freezing in the winter, so this is definitely a situation in which synthetic fibers aren't going to bother me at all. Next up on the list, we've got a few different corduroys. Now, 2 of them came from one thrift store and the 3rd came from a separate one. Let's start with the 3rd. So we've got this gorgeous dark blue corduroy. It is almost exactly 1 yard and it cost $2.99. And this corduroy is much wider than the other 2 that I've got. This is definitely my favorite color of the 3 though. It is very much a color that I have in my wardrobe and will wear a lot. So very excited about that one. 1 yard means it's probably gonna be some sort of top, maybe a vest, jerkin, that type of thing. If you have ideas for what to do with 1 yard of fabric, be sure and throw them in the comments below. Keeping in mind it is corduroy, it has a very specific texture. Then next up for $5.99, we've got this much thinner ribbed corduroy in this off-white creamy color. And looking at my measurements, we've got 2 2/3 yards. So really not a bad deal at all for $6. I just bought some gorgeous pumpkin spice colored corduroy actual yardage in a real fabric store, and I think it was $20 a meter. So whatever this breaks down to per meter, definitely a much better deal. I thought that this was kind of fun because it was cream. I could dye it. My roommate, however, kind of loves the color as it is, so we'll see. These probably will be either pants or overalls or a jumpsuit. Really digging the jumpsuit I made in my last video, so maybe another one of those, I don't know. Then last up is this lovely deep red corduroy. Again, a very thin ribbed fabric, and we're looking at $4.99 for 2 3/4 yards of it. This, I was quite pleased at the drape. It's got a very nice kind of loose drape, and I'm hoping it's 100% cotton. Maybe we'll get a burn test at the end, we'll see. Either way, it's got a really lovely feel. I personally love the feel of corduroy. I know it gives some of you the heebie-jeebies, but not me, so very happy to add this into my stash. Next up, we've got some wonderful IKEA curtains, which normally I would not put wonderful and IKEA curtains in the same phrase, but these are linen cotton blend, and they've kind of got this really fun print going on here. So the tag, which is still on them, says they're 58% linen, 42% cotton, and at 5 yards of fabric each, I've got 2 of them, which means I've got 10 yards, which is so much fabric. Very fun. I did get these expressly thinking I would make them into a jumpsuit. Whether I keep the color like this or try and dye it a different color, I don't know. I do kind of actually dig this color. It's got these fun little quasi-abstract roses and birds on here, and if I can find the price tag for you, I'll tell you how much it cost. Aha! So, $7.99 each, so $8 each for 5 yards of fabric. Not a bad price, but we can sort of start to see how the pricing scheme 100% not uniform, which does make sense, right? There's probably different people tagging these on different days. Fiber content is not their specialty, so I don't expect them to know what they have on their hands when they have 100% worsted wool flannel versus IKEA curtains. To many people, IKEA curtains far more valuable than worsted wool yardage. Not necessarily to me, but that does kind of explain the discrepancy in the pricing. Next up, another very fun and unexpected find. It is this gorgeous red, kind of similar color to the corduroy from earlier, but this is very clearly a lining fabric. Again, probably 100% polyester, which most lining fabrics are. I'm not expecting this to be like a rayon or anything like that, but it is the exact colorway that I use in so many of my garments. This would make the perfect lining to match tons of things from my stash, including, wait for it, including this thrifted fabric from a couple videos ago, which I solicited lots of suggestions from you guys and got many good ideas, and a lot of them would require a lining, and look at that match. That would be a very fun lining fabric. Also, I can make so many garments because there are 8 2/3 yards. Hear that again, 8 2/3 yards of fabric, all for a whopping $4.99. Such a steal. Absolutely thrilled about this one. And it's gonna go a long way to lining a lot of my wardrobe. We've just got a few more regular fabrics before I slide into my spectacular Halloween themed fabrics. And next up on the list is this rather fun, just under 5 yards of homespun fabric. And that homespun, 5 yards of it, $4. Very fun. So, according to Google, homespun is a lightweight fabric of fine cotton yarns, produced by using traditional colonial techniques of hand dyeing, warping, weaving, and washing. So that's what it is. That's what this is. The colorway is like maybe a little bit bland for what I would normally wear, but the quality is amazing, feels so good, and I will definitely find a way to make something very fun out of this. Next up, we've got some very plain but highly useful white lawn. I was quite surprised to find this because it looked just kind of like regular cotton, but once you open it up, you can see it's much thinner than regular cotton. It's probably a lawn, and got several yards of it here for $4.99. Great deal, and one can always use lots of white cotton in one stash, particularly when making history-bounding garments. So that can probably be a nice, shirtwaist, blouse. And then last but not least of the non-spooky fabrics is this very fun zebra print. Don't have much of this color or of this type of whimsical print in my wardrobe, but I absolutely loved the drape. Now, I'm not sure if it's a rayon or much more likely it's some sort of thin polyester, but it is incredibly thin and incredibly drapey, and with 3.5 yards for $3.99, I thought this could absolutely make a super fun, flowy summer dress, perhaps with some sort of, very thin cotton lining against the torso so that the polyester is maybe not sitting directly against my skin, but super fun. Love me a good whimsical pattern, so very happy to add this one to my stash as well. All right, now we can start the ooky spooky section of the video, because the next handful of fabrics I got specifically intending to make something fun and Halloween themed with them. Now, in the end, will that become a reality? I'm not sure. Things in my life have kind of changed dramatically recently, so I don't know if that'll be possible, but I will try and get at least some fun Halloween themed content out for you, and some of them might involve some of these fabrics. So first up on that list is just under 2 yards of this kind of goofy tapestry print fabric. The print is very abstract. It's not anything particular. And here we go with the pricing scheme. This is the one I was referencing earlier, because here we have just under 2 yards and it costs $9, which, I mean, it's still a very affordable price, way less than this would have been in a real fabric shop. However, doesn't compare at all to the yardage that we saw where it was 100% worsted wool, 5 yards of it for like $6, right? I'm thinking this would make a very nice black snail 1890s vest. I already have that pattern, and I actually already have a mock-up of it that I made over a year ago, so I can like just envision this made up into that vest, the one with the like popped collar, that over top of, say, just a classic white pirate shirt, which I don't have but could. Imagine that. Very, very fun. So Halloween number 1. Halloween number 2 is this kind of goofy, I don't even know what the type of fabric, maybe you would call it tulle. It's this rainbow print spider pattern, which I did not want the spider pattern. So I was very thrilled to see that the inside of it is actually just plain silver on the black mesh, which is great because it means I can overlay it on any other type of fabric and it's gonna kind of match. So I, in a perfect world, would be making a waist cincher with this turned inside out, so silver cobwebs on some plain orange cotton so that it would get a nice contrast going on. I think that could be very, very fun. I've got that free pattern from Aura Lynn Patterns for the waist cincher. This could be a thing. We'll have to see. And if we were needing plain orange fabric, got some of it right here. $3.49 for an entire bed sheet. I calculated the yardage and it is 6 3/4 yards for $3.49. Not a bad deal. It does feel like it's probably a mix of cotton and polyester, but this was definitely fitting very nicely into my Halloween costuming plans. Then this one, I didn't have any plans for it because it is a knit fabric and I do not work very often with knit fabrics, but this color is very much a color I would wear all the time in my wardrobe because it is actually, the coppers and the oranges are a colorway that I quite like to wear, especially in the fall. So if anyone has any ideas for just over 2 yards of this lovely directional knit that we've got going on here, it was $2.99. So, you know, $1 a yard. Great deal, and don't know what I'm gonna do with it. So would love some suggestions in the comments below. Let me know what you would do with 2 yards of that lovely orange knit fabric. That wraps up all of the fabric. Now, stick with me here. I'm gonna walk you through some of the fun notions that I got because there were also some very fun deals on some notions. This came from a giant wall of bags of notions. Starting off here, we have what I thought was kind of fun for $2.99, so $3 for 3 packs of fabric dye. I don't recognize this brand at all, Tintex. If you have used it before, let me know. For $3, I dig the colors, very much my color scheme, and I thought it would be kind of fun to try it. Maybe on that corduroy. Can one tie-dye corduroy? Is that a thing? Maybe I should tie-dye corduroy. Maybe it shouldn't be a thing. I don't know. It's a thought. Then up next, several bags of thread. This is the type of thread that generally gets used on your serger. Now, you're not obliged to. You can certainly use this on your regular machine, but I do have a serger. Serger thread is very expensive. Each of these was $1 per bobbin, which is a pretty good deal, honestly. So got everything they had. There's some tans and a lot of navy blue, so dark blue, which is gonna pass pretty well as black, you know, kind of another generic color that's very useful. So next up, just a generic bag of zippers. I was thrilled that they had a bag where it was just zippers and they didn't try to give me a bunch of other crap I don't want in there. The whole bag was $3 for the bag, and it looks like there's at least 5 or 6 zippers in here, which if you try to buy zippers at Joann's or something, they're like $4 per zipper. It was generally a good deal. Then last up on the notions, got this bag of vintage rickrack and trim and such. Mostly got it for these guys right here. This is some cotton twill tape, a little bit vintage, definitely can tell by the design here. I got a whole package of them because I'm always using twill tape, and what I don't want, the rest that's rickrack and such, can get packaged into my holiday fabric bundles as part of the vintage notions that get sent out sprinkled in among the fabric that I'm sending out. Always when I'm in these thrift stores, I'm keeping my eyes out for vintage notions to put in those holiday bundles. And if you are interested in those holiday bundles, I will have more information coming very soon because I will be shipping them out in October. If you are based in Canada, especially, be sure to send me a message because I have all of my fabric currently here in Montreal with me, and I will be sending packages out to Canadians first. before I then go to the US and send out the rest of the bundles from the US. Anyway, moving on, two last items. One, just a fun little variety pack of a ton of sewing notions. Not 100% of them are going to be useful, but I am incredibly lacking on this exact type of hardware. My friends actually make jokes about it. I have basically no hooks and eyes in my stash. Every time I need some, I have to go out and buy them. So for $4, this fun little compartment with a bunch of different types of notions in it, definitely a good deal. Then, last but not least, and I am super excited for this one, mainly just because the color is so stinking fun, it's a sewing machine! It's a vintage Singer, which I got for a whopping $15. The price was right. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention earlier that it also came with this fun little box of sewing machine attachments, which is completely full. It's got the original manual and warranty on there. Oh, hey, and the make. It's a 338. As well as a little sampler and a bunch of cams and, oh my god, is that a zipper foot? Longtime viewers of the channel will know that I have struggled for a long time making projects without a zipper foot, and now I think I actually have a zipper foot. Who knew? Okay, back to the original programming. Do I need a new sewing machine? No, I don't. Do I even know if this one works? No, I don't. All signs point to it is in working order, and they do generally check their electronics at Value Village to make sure they're working. Now, there's a difference between working and working well. They might have plugged it in and said, hey, the light turns on, the stitch seems to make stitches, it's working, but actually maybe it needs to be retimed. I'm not sure, but this color was just so fun, and it came in this gorgeous wooden case. I have not been able to find a year on it or even a serial number to look up the year, so I'm not sure when it's from. If I had to guess, just by looking at the style, I would say 60s or 70s, not 100% sure, but for $15, a gorgeous, fun green Singer to add to my collection. No questions asked. Hands down, I was absolutely going to buy it. So that pretty much covers everything that I got while I was thrifting in Nova Scotia. Now, I should clarify that these did not all come from one thrift store, and nor did they come from one shopping trip. They were a few different thrift stores. I think they were all Value Villages, and it was kind of spread out over a few different trips. So it's not like I walked into one location and walked out with a massive whopping pile of fabric and notions. It was kind of spread out over a few different trips, but it was just so exciting to find a lot of really fun fabric and notions. It is kind of fun to find 11.5 yards of a gorgeous tartan print cotton. Like, what? The thrifting gods were smiling down on me. So I really hope you enjoyed this little tour through everything I found. Please be sure to let me know if any of these fabrics are calling out to you to be made into something. As you kind of heard, I do have some plans for some of them, but I definitely don't have plans for all of these fabrics, and I am very open to suggestions. So be sure to shoot me all of those suggestions down in the comments, and also let me know what was your most recent fun, exciting thrift find that just got you revved up and excited about your haul, or making something fun and creative out of it, or even if it was just like a crock pot. Bro, crock pots are expensive and super handy, so if you found one at a thrift store for a good deal, tell us about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would like to check out more thrifted hauls and dumpster dives, this is the playlist for you. And if you want to see what I'm making with all this thrifted fabric, be sure to check out this right here. Okay, thanks, bye! Copyright 1964. All right, I was not off by too far. Oh, smells like the 60s. Okay, maybe not actually. Montreal smells like the 60s.